How you doing? Good. All right. Cool. Cool. Um, yeah. So effective software developer, right? Um, how to work smart instead of who wants to work actually harder here? One, two, three. You can go out, right, and work. Go work. The rest of us will stay here and learn a little bit about how to work actually smarter. So my name is Sven. I work for a small startup in Spain called Manfred. We are building a career platform for developers. We are not in Croatia yet, where we want to find out about the local market. So there's a survey at the end. And I kindly ask you to fill it out. Thank you. Just like we're raffling 30 t-shirts, cool developer shirts, but let's wait to the end. But this talk is not about Manfred. This talk is not about the former companies I've worked for Atlassian and MongoDB. But this talk is about like the developers that actually work for the companies. And I wanted to find out like what sets them apart. What makes them actually effective? So I asked actually and try to find some patterns about like what makes them super effective. Because you can be effective with a lot of things, right? You can be effective with a PostgreSQL database. Even though I prefer MongoDB, but I'm biased, you can be effective programming in Java or in C# or PHP. I'm not so sure about that, but let's find out that. But what is an effective developer actually doing? So an effective developer actually writes very smart code. So code that you normally have in 10 lines of code, this effective developer can condense that in 2 lines of code. And if you look at that, you think, wow, this is super effective. These effective developers are fixing bugs immediately. If you come in the office in the morning and you saw, oh yeah, there was a bug reported last night, let's ask who's gonna fix that. Then the effective developer raise their hand, say, yeah, you know, I just like read the bug report last night, I fixed it overnight, it's already deployed to production, done. These effective developers adding features like a champ. Also, same story. You go to the Scrum board in the morning, like who's taking that feature, this user story, and this effective developer says, you know, you can already move it to in progress. Actually, it's done. You can just like review it. I already created the pull request. Super effective. These are just like the 10x developers where everyone is looking for. And they never stop. They always hacking. You see them actually hands on the keyboard always. And if they stuck because they maybe missed something from designers or so, they just like jump on the next task and the next thing from the backlog and just like program that. And once they have the thing back from the designers, they just jump back and finish up. Super effective, these developers, and they live and breathe code. You can just wake them up in the middle of the night and say, hey, I need to change this behavior of the web page. Where can I actually do that? If I click this button, something else should happen. And this effective developer says, you go to this class, it must be in this function, and you think like, amazing, how does they know it, right? Super effective. That was actually me. I felt like this in 2003 years. I'm that old dude. It's 3 years in my first role as a developer, and I felt like I know all this stuff. I can fix bugs immediately, all those things. But now looking actually back, what's happening over there? Anyway, so you can actually, but looking back, actually, almost 20 years from now, I think like, woo, was I really super effective? I'm actually not sure about. So let's review what I just said, right? So I was writing very smart code that when I opened it, actually 3 months back from when I wrote it, I said, I don't really get it. So please don't touch the code. I don't know how it's working. I know at that time I was super smart, but now I'm not so sure about that anymore. I don't know what it's actually doing. So fixing bugs immediately. Why was I fixing bugs immediately? Because I was embarrassed, right? It was my code that was just like failing. There was a bug in my code. So I jumped immediately on it and fixed it, of course. Where I actually should have taken the time and just like look at the root problem, because I was fixing bugs all the time, right? And I never fixed the root problem because I just like wanted to get it done or cover it that this thing never happened. That's why I was fixing the bugs so fast. adding features. Actually, people came into my office and said, Sven, I've just been to this customer and they want to just like download this as an Excel file, right? The data as an Excel file. And then I just say, okay, no problem, I can do that. Let me just like give me a few hours, and I can just like add a button, and then the customer can download it as an Excel file. But I actually this button was actually never used, because what the customer wanted was something totally different. They wanted a backup or an archive or something like that. And I just like, and there's so many features that maybe are never used, or that are just like rarely used, where I should have spent the time actually work on features that all our users would have benefited from. Then I was never stop. I was always taking. I told you the story about like if I just ran into a problem with the designers, I just jump on the next task, right? Well, this requires a lot of context switching, and we know like context switching is not a good thing, right? If you just like have to switch, it takes you, when you're in the zone, just like programming, have all the design in your head, it takes you approximately 14, 15 minutes back and until you're back in that zone. So context switching, probably not the best thing. I should have asked the designers, is this thing ready in, let's say, 2 days? Then I need to use it for otherwise I wouldn't have started this feature. And I lived and breathed code. It was great. I knew the code inside out. It was super cool. But actually, I forgot about like the broader view, the purpose of the software. I just like was so focused on the code that I forgot about like, what is the software doing? Where should it go, right? So all those things, just like if I would have pushed more on the left-hand side here, this is all about efficiency, right? It's all efficiency. I could add more features, fix more bugs, where actually the right-hand side is all about effectiveness, right? Working on effectiveness, where when I pushed myself more on efficiency, I would have worked harder, where I actually should have worked smarter. And this is all what this talk is about. So let's just jump right into how to be more effective and code as a team, right? Because we all know like writing good code takes actually time, right? And sometimes I was sitting like this, right? Like this. And then my boss came and said, Sven, what are you doing? Why are you just like thinking so long about the code you're writing? And I said, yeah, I want to write great code, but you know what? The machine doesn't care, right? It just got compiled to bytecode, executed. The machine doesn't care how great your code looks. But we all know that humans do care. And why is that important? Because we read code more often than we write code. So we open code more often, and then we want to understand what the code is doing. Then actually we take the time on writing that code. So we should spend more time actually on making our code look good. And I was telling you the story about my clever code that I thought was super clever. And why was I doing this? Why was I just like saying, oh wow, I can make it more clever here? Because maybe I wanted to show off. I just like want to show that I can do it. I'm so smart, such a smart programmer. But this didn't help, even not me, but especially not my coworkers, right? You should strive for more simple code, simplicity over cleverness. You should just like look at the code and it's like, is that understandable? Because we write software in a team. The code is, we write it in the team, and everyone in the team needs to understand what the code is doing, right? But actually, how do we know actually that our code is simple enough for our coworkers, right? We can do the canary test. So canary test, everyone knows, well, you have the canary bird, go down to the coal mine. If the canary bird falls down, like, we have to get out because the air is polluted. And we can do the same thing with the code. We can show our code to our junior developers, right? We can show it and say, do you understand what the code is doing? Well, they must not understand everything and the whole domain around it, but if they say, I kind of get what the code is doing, well, but then our code might be simple enough. So how do we turn that into a process, right? We cannot just like go to our junior developers all the time. So we do code reviews. I hope everyone is doing code reviews here. And we should invest time in code reviews. It's first, of course, to inspire our junior dev to see if the code is simple enough, but also to ensure a consistent code quality. But I know a lot of teams struggle with doing code reviews. It's really hard because your code got viewed by your coworkers and is always tested by your coworkers and see like, is that code, how is Sven writing the code, right? And this is hard for me, just like because it's judged all the time. So we need to find a way like can we make code reviews more pleasant so we do them more. And actually the Bitbucket team that is developing the Bitbucket had some rules about like rules for reviewers, for code reviewers. They had this: before you start commenting on anything, just like try to understand what the author wanted to say with this code or wanted to do with this code. Maybe there was no other possibility. Maybe this is the best way to do things. And if you still don't agree with what's written there, well, criticize the ideas and never ever criticize the people. Right? That's pretty clear. And then also don't rant. Don't start ranting about the code. Like just make suggestions so this person can learn from it and can just like move forward. And don't try to spoon feed. Don't tell them replace this line with that line, because then people don't learn from it. They have to self-discover things. And also, pretty important, and maybe obvious, maybe not, comment on positive things too. So as you see something that you really like say, wow, great, I didn't know that this is possible. So just like also comment on positive things. And these are just like the rules from the Bitbucket team. You can make up totally your own, add things, remove things, whatever, but try to make code reviews more pleasant so everyone is doing that. Super important. The second thing I want to talk about, like effective software developers, they constantly learn, right? And when I was just like the new developer, or just like graduated from university and got to work with my first code base, I was so impressed. I said just like, wow, cool. Wow, great idea. I didn't know that this is possible, actually. Wow, continuous integration, my code get tested automatically? Wow, I didn't learn that at university at that time. So really, really excited about the code, right? And we still have that because there are coming new technologies all the time. You probably learn some new technologies here at Infobip Shift, right? And we still keep this excitement, right? We are always super excited and say, oh, wow, this new front-end framework, we just like rip out the old code and put in the new code. Cool, it's just like makes us more effective or efficient. But if you grow older, right, you have seen things in this industry. And you have seen frameworks come and go. And you get a little bit like this person here, right? So you say like, I will also survive the microservice and serverless hype, containerization, that will all go over soon. I know that. Really? A new front-end framework again? Right? Oh, here. Scrum boards. I don't need Scrum bots. I know what's important. Just like that's something for the other people in the team, not for me. Code reviews, my code is great. I don't need code reviews. Just like other people may need code reviews. I'm happy to review code, but that's not for me. With other words, maybe you know these people, right? They are a little bit like the grumpy developer in the team. Or maybe you become also a little bit of this tendency, like a little bit grumpy. But you just like ask people like, these people like, they say like, I know how to develop software. And what they do is really say like, I know how to develop software now. But do you think like, is software developer changing? Is that, you should ask that question. And we all have the answer, yes, of course. I mean, if you're working longer than 2-3 years in this industry, you know, like it's constantly changing. So we need to constantly learn new things. But how do we do that on a daily basis? It's right hard, right? Spending spare time or something, use that time effectively. So what I do is when I commute to work or when I do some workouts, I listen to podcasts and audiobooks. So just like keep up with what's going on in the industry. I don't have to dive deep into all the new cool technologies, but just like to know like what's out there. Go regularly to meetups, right? You did the right thing to just like go to this conference, but also to meetups. And meetups are not just about like learning new things, but also to get to know more people and just like build a network of people. Or what we did at MongoDB was a book club. So I'm not a big book reader. I actually don't. I like audiobooks more than just like reading books. But in this book club, we were actually reading a chapter each week. So a chapter of a book each week, the whole team. right? The same chapter. And then we were meeting for 1 hour each week and just like discussing what was in the chapter, how do we think about it. And that is so great. It deepened the knowledge of what we just read, but also get other opinions about just like what we read. So this is I can really recommend this. What I was doing when I was an engineering lead, I was doing video Fridays because energy is pretty low on Fridays. So we were watching videos from a conference, just like Friday afternoon, 3 p.m., just like played a video from a conference, and then we had a little discussion afterwards, and then we left into the weekend. What the great thing about this is you have the whole team just like learning at the same time. So we know like learning is great to make new connections in our brain, but this is not the only thing that we should do, because we also need to learn to unlearn, because some things are not true anymore that we learned in the past. So I was actually learning in university that the only way to develop software is the waterfall method, right? And we all know that this is awful, like writing up the requirements first and then go into 1 year of development and then show it to the customer. We know that this is not working. So we need to also learn to unlearn, because some things are not true anymore. So this is actually the continuous learning here. We learn, we unlearn, but there's one super important ingredient missing here. And it's like experimentation. Like we can't just learn from books and from other people, but we need to also just like try things out. We need to experiment. And this is also for effective software developer a great tool to just like become more effective. Now, you probably have a board like this, right? It's all on the board. Every task that we have to do is on the board. Well, it does not fit. Everything does not fit on the board. So we know the rest is somewhere in Jira, big backlog, and everything is in there. Right? Why should we experiment, right? But we might know that this is not the best idea. So it cannot be that everything is that's on the board, that the product manager put on the board is actually the best idea out there. So we know that we have known unknowns. Maybe there's a better solution. Maybe there's a new technology that helps us and we are reinventing the wheel here. Or we miss opportunities. So don't invest into this feature, but if we would invest in some other kind of feature, it would just like help the product to grow faster. So my advice is here, don't be shy, just try. Try things out, right? So for example, learning new programming languages. What we did was we were doing just like 1.5 hours each week, just like getting out of work time. And then we were just like trying out new programming language like Rust, or we want to use TypeScript, just like to try it out. It was not necessary for the business or anything. It was just like we want to get a feeling for that programming language or for that technology to see like, does it fit into our environment or not yet ready yet? It's not mature yet. So if you invest just like 1.5 hours in coding, means 1.5 hours of improving. Another thing that we did was tools training. So I just read some stats, and software developers or software teams use around like 20 to 30 different kind of tools. How do you know that you use every feature effectively from the tools that you have? Do you keep up with all the new features that these tool vendors add, right? So carve out some time, try out the tools, make some updates, and see like maybe you can use something that makes you actually more efficient at the end. Or you try out new tools. If you use Jenkins, maybe you try out GitHub Actions. If you use IntelliJ IDE, maybe you want to try out an IDE in the cloud like Gitpod. So just like try out new tools to just also see like maybe this can make us better, improve our way of working. So let's say 1/2 hour each week, we just like play around with tools. That means 2 hours of improving. Now, about the big elephant in the room is, of course, every company wants this: innovation. We all want innovation in our products, new things like getting ahead of the competition, right? So one thing for sure, we have a lot of ideas. Everyone in the team has a lot of ideas. So the problem is not the lack of ideas. The problem is that we don't have the time to try them out to see if they really work. So how much time do you need to try the ideas out, right? You can have 40 hours, right? 40 hours to try that out. That is actually what MongoDB is doing, like 40 hours at 2 times a year. They just like the whole engineering team takes time off to to do some what they call skunk work. So they work on some projects and improve the product, or just like see if something will work for the product or not. But maybe you just need 30 hours. Or the 24-hour hackathon. You probably have heard of that, or you're actually practicing it. I was working for Atlassian, and Atlassian was one of the first companies that actually invented this 24-hour hackathon. They're called Ship It Days. And I just want to show you how a Ship It Day works at Atlassian. And there's in 3 phases. So the planning phase, the actual event, and then the aftermath. So diving deep into the planning phase, plan dates ahead of time. Just like you need to just plan 2-3 months ahead of time, because people are taking vacation or release plans are in the way. So people can plan around these dates, the Ship It Day. Then announce stories. Don't just go into the Ship It Day and just think, hey, what should we do? You should just think first about what you want to do, write that down, and then try to find a team that helps you build this thing and have a bigger impact. Also, what we did was we're doing brown bags, so just lunch talks where everyone is just presenting their ideas, 5 to 10 minutes, and then try to find a team for people that don't have these ideas or just want to join a team. And then at a Thursday afternoon, 3 p.m., the Ship It Day starts. And remember, the time is ticking. Of course, having fun, because you're working on a problem that you really want to solve and that you want to show to the company that this problem is solvable and it's a great idea. Don't forget to get energized and drink. Some people actually stay for 24 hours. They sleep under the desk, but this is not the norm. Most people go home at around 10 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and come back at 7, 8 a.m. next day. And then at a Friday afternoon, 24 hours later, we're presenting. Everyone gets 3 minutes or 4 minutes to present what they did. And then also we're voting for the winner. And announce the winner, and then we plan the next hackathon. Something goes on the product roadmap, but not everything. So this is how things started, and then the whole company. So first the engineering team was doing that, but the whole company wanted to join. The legal team, the marketing team, you name it. Every team wanted to join this day and just have innovative ideas, not just around the products, but also about ways of working. So some team, I think it was a legal team in Sydney, they built this hidden whiskey bar to just have a place to mingle, to come together. So once when you're in the Sydney office at Atlassian, just find the hidden whiskey bar. That was a project, and actually it goes so far that Atlassian created this Unplugged award for extra for people that are not programmers, but that also want to participate in this day. So the whole company can actually do some innovation work. Now, the results are probably not that good if you look at that, right? So it's just small percentage that really get shipped or that really ends up in the product, and a lot of things that doesn't get shipped. That's bad, right? Yeah. So 24 hours invested from Atlassian, bad. Well, it's not, because actually what's not working. What idea doesn't work? So no big project plan, no big budget, and then find out, it was not the best idea. It's just 24-hour hackathon, right? So just this helps a lot with just finding the ideas that doesn't work. So let's invest 24 hours every quarter, which means if you do the math, just 0.7 hours hackathon says invest 2.7 hours in improving. You should carve out that time from your weekly work. So invest time in discovery. And the last thing, I think the most important thing, what I want to talk about is work on what matters, right? To be more effective. I recently browsed a little bit the internet, and I found this cool thing from a car manufacturer. So you can control the car entertainment system by gestures, right? You can just turn the volume up and down. You can pinch zoom into a map. All these crazy things, super cool. They built a camera behind you, so this filming the fingers, and then they can see it. Great. So a lot of things needed to be done to get this started, right? The whole production needed to change, right? So what's actually now the difference from just doing a touch screen? It's just these few centimeters. So first think about what was the problem that they wanted to solve. I don't know, right? But think about the problem first that people want to solve, right? Think about the problem that you want to solve, right? So why do we want to solve it? Where's the validation data? What are solutions before you kick off a project, right? Just work on something that is really a problem and that shows like when you did it, that the data changed and you have solved this problem, right? So Atlassian also built, before we kick off a project, we built this called project poster. So that's actually asking all those questions. So actually it was a development from 2-3 years to just like get these questions right. And then we just like, people have to fill out this project poster actually before they start a project. So now you have all those project posters, right? So great, cool projects that you want to start. So which project should you work on? What's the priority, right? So here's the thing, just like work on the things that actually affects most of your customers. So there's this happy path in your software, and improve that to make your software stick. So you can do something like this user story mapping, just like see how people just like go through your software, just write down what the problems are, and then just like how you want to solve the problems, right? And then you do that maybe for different personas if you have that. Now, you might say, Sven, this is a developer conference. Come on, it's not about product management, right? We care about code. Tell us the code. We are here to just like improve the code. Product, that's something for the product managers. Yeah, sorry. I actually failed, so sorry for that. So quote here, I wish engineers spend less time understanding the problem and more time coding. Who said that? Who said that? Said nobody ever, right? Of course, we need to understand the problem. If you're a junior developer, right? Maybe, yeah, concentrate on the code first. But once you're 1-2 years in the business, you know the product. Like, care about the product. So there's a movement actually to become a product engineer. So something that you care about the product, but you also know how to solve the problem in code. So very powerful role. So how do you become a product engineer? That you can just like do some stuff like do hallway testing. People in your organization know your software, and you can first show them the first version of your software, and just like get early feedback before the product manager goes to the customer and shows it to the customer. Send your developers on support, or go yourself on support. So also here, when developers come back from support and just like say 1 week every half year or something, doesn't have to be extensive, right? And then they come back and say, you know what? Users have always this problem, and we can easily solve that. So it also helps you to understand your users better. And then also just like be a data detective. Just like don't look just like at your memory consumption, your CPU consumption, but look also just like where are people hanging out? Where do they have problems? Help your product managers understand the behavior of your users better. All right, so been talking now for 27 minutes here about effective software developers. We talked about like how to code as a team, just like that everyone in the team understands the code, how to constantly learn, how to experiment, do hackathons, and also to work on what really matters, become product engineers. Now, effectiveness is not just like, here's the road. It's just like a few examples that I brought up here, a few patterns that I saw that effective software developers are actually doing. So it's a little more the windy road, and the outcome you just like see a little bit later. But that's why we're always drawn to efficiency, right? Because efficiency, just like we can measure very easily, but don't get me wrong, efficiency is also super important. So work on automation, work on learn your tools to be faster with your tools, and also just like work on processes so you can just like work better together. But when I just like categorize it, efficiency is about like getting more stuff done. You can get more stuff done in the same time. But where effectiveness is all about getting the right stuff done that is important for you, your organization, your customers, and so on. Where efficiency is about output, effectiveness is about the outcome. So think about outcome first, be effective, and get shit done. Okay, thank you very much.